Good morning and thank you for joining us on Korea Today, brought to you live from Seoul, Korea.
It's been a rough ride for President Park Geun-hye, the ups and downs of the first 100 days of her term in office. We take a closer look at them.
The son of former President Chun Doo-hwan has an overseas bank account. Find out more in the headlines.
And on In Print, we have a winner. Find out who took home the top honors at yesterday's musical awards. Massive quantitative easing and the weakening yen. Will the success of Abenomics be a plus or a minus for Korea and the world? We have the answer coming up.
Technology that bridges the gaps in daily life for the disabled. We look at some of the most cutting-edge technologies that are paving new roads. A dip in just 0.5 degrees of your body temperature can have a big impact on your health. How is the temperature of your body linked to your health? On Tuesday, June 4th, 2013.
From Arirang News, this is Korea Today.
You're watching Korea Today on a Tuesday morning. Thank you for tuning in.
Good morning. And today marks the 100th day of being in office for President Park Geun-hye. And those 100 days, it was dominated by basic soaring military tensions, or basically that, as well as Pyongyang's warnings of nuclear strikes, and not to mention parliamentary deadlock, along with high-profile resignations and a sex scandal. But polls suggest that she's handling the situation well enough.
That's right. A lot has happened for the past 100 days. I'm sure a lot will happen over the remainder of her term in office. On the diplomatic front, she is set to sit down with Chinese leader Xi Jinping this month, and she also got an invitation from Buckingham Palace. She will make a state visit to Britain this fall at the invitation of Queen Elizabeth II. So a lot is ahead of her and a lot ahead of us. Korea Today, so we'll get the show on the road with Na Hyun-kyung and her days, the headlines.
Yep.
Former President Chun Doo-hwan's eldest son has been found to have an offshore account through a paper company set up in the tax haven region of the British Virgin Islands in 2004. The Korea Center for Investigative Journalism, or KCIJ, said Monday that by using his paper company, Chun Tae-guk opened up an account at a Singapore branch of an unidentified Arabian bank. The KCIJ called for a proper probe, saying Chun created the company while his younger brother was being investigated for slush fund allegations linked with their father. The National Tax Service says it will look into the matter and launch an official investigation if necessary. Now, former President Chun, who is widely seen as a dictator, has been heavily criticized for allegedly hiding assets illegally gained during his rule in the 1970s and 80s, as well as for avoiding taxes. 9 young North Korean defectors who were recently sent back to Pyongyang after being caught in Laos are being held in solitary confinement and are undergoing quote-unquote training. This is according to Seoul-based Free North Korea Radio. It says the 9 are held in a reception facility near Sunan and added that their repatriation was a direct order from North Korean leader Kim Jong-un. Meanwhile, regarding their repatriation, the Laotian government has reiterated its position, saying it was nothing more than a simple deportation of illegal immigrants. In 1 or 2 months' time, North Korea may restart its plutonium reactor in Yongbyon that can produce fissile material for building nuclear bombs. This comes from a report released Monday by the U.S.-Korea Institute at Johns Hopkins University, which also says Pyongyang's ability to restart the facility is unknown, as it will depend on whether the regime has enough fuel rods to power it. The analysis comes a month after the Institute's website 38 North said Yongbyan's light water reactor appears to be almost complete based on satellite images, and that Pyongyang will be able to test run it by the end of this year if there's enough fuel supply. Korea says Japan's justification and ludicrous comments towards its past wartime sexual slavery made by some of its politicians were inhumane. Speaking at a UN Human Rights Council's debate in Geneva Monday local time, the head of the Korean delegation, Choi Seok-young, urged human rights organizations to pressure the Japanese government to take legal responsibility. Choi also said Japan should compensate the victims and make a formal apology. The UN Committee Against Torture also criticized the Japanese government for its passive reactions to the distortion of history and urged Tokyo to show an accurate representation in school textbooks.
Good morning, everyone. Not much pomp and circumstance for the president's first 100 days here. Rather, the front pages are mostly plastered with news that former President Chun Doo-hwan's eldest son was named as a paper company holder, as you just heard, as posted by the Independent Korea Center for Investigative Journalism in their latest release. So let's go ahead and scoot on over to Gyeongyang Shinmun for the details there. The headline reads, Chun Jae-guk's paper company could have stashed Chun Doo-hwan's secret fund. And the image shows the entrance of the Seoul-based publishing company that the son, Chun Jae-guk, runs. He is the first son of former President Chun Doo-hwan, the military strongman who had eluded paying a Supreme Court fine of some $143 million after being convicted of treason and receiving bribe money back in 1997. Now, the former president had argued that he had not much money left to his name, and though speculation was rife that the elder Chun had funneled his slush funds to his family members, the government failed to collect for years, at least until now. Now, fast forward to Monday. Yesterday, and the KCIJ named one person, Chun Jae-guk, in its fourth list of paper company owners. The group reported that it found the younger Chun established a paper company on the British Virgin Islands in 2004 called the Blue Adonis Corporation, for which its shareholder document listed an address consistent to his publishing company. Now, the groups also said that it found traces of transactions to another overseas account as it urged authorities to investigate that source of Chun's money, particularly as you just heard, the paper company was founded the same year that his younger brother was convicted for evading a $6 million gift tax. And while Chun did come out to deny any connection between his paper company and his father late yesterday, prosecutors said they will launch a case should the National Tax Service find clues of concealment there. So we'll go ahead and leave the top story there for now. Joseon-ilbo also has a similar story there, but we're going to go ahead and take a look at its front page image. It shows North Korean leader Kim Jong-un looking toward across the trees there. It's toward the South Korean side, a guard post that was just 350 meters away. The paper says that this is the first time the communist leader is known to have visited the frontline guard post, which sits inside the demilitarized zone. And in fact, you can see it again here, the North Korean side here and the South Korean side there. But indeed, today does mark President Park Geun-hye's first 100 days in office, and Donga-ilbo has an image in that honor. And on that note, the president apparently cracked a joke yesterday using a well-known three-verse Korean poem. And the first line of that poem goes, "The mountains may be high, but they are still under the skies," noting that there is no insurmountable task. The president revised it a bit to say, "The pledge peaks may be high," and then said, "If I finished it by saying I will stake everything to achieve my goals, would anyone have a problem?" inciting laughter from those in the meeting room. And finally, we will go ahead and wrap with Jungang Daily today. Its front page image shows a scene out of the Korean cast performance of Les Miserables, which took home 5 awards at the 7th Musical Awards held in Seoul yesterday, including the honors of Best Musical and Best Actor, which went to Mr. Chung Sung-hwa here, second from left. So certainly congratulations to all. And that does wrap your look at what's in print on this Tuesday morning. Here comes your market action from Monday.
As you heard at the top of the hour, today marks the 100th day since President Park Geun-hye took office. Now, it looks like this milestone is going to pass without much fanfare. The presidential office of Cheong-wa-dae has said that instead of issuing a statement or holding a special ceremony, it will focus on establishing future plans for key issues.
Okay, right back to work it is. Now, today we'll get an overview of what's been happening at the presidential office for the last 100 days.
대통령으로서의 직책을 성실히 수행할 것을 국민 앞에 엄숙히 선서합니다.
It has been 100 days since President Park Geun-hye took office, becoming the first female president of Korea on the heels of strong public support. The Park administration faced mounting difficulties throughout the first 3 months from inside and out, with constant provocations from North Korea and tough economic challenges.
With the nuclear test from North Korea in February and the ensuing sanctions from the UN, tensions between the two Koreas have been heightened. This kind of environment made it difficult for the new administration to enlist many of its policies.
Despite this backdrop, the administration has produced some tangible results. President Park held their first summit meeting with U.S. President Barack Obama, during which the two reaffirmed their commitment to the 60-year alliance, as well as upgrading it to a global partnership.
한미 동맹이 한반도와 동북아의 평화와 안정을 위한 보루로서 그 역할을 충실히 수행해왔고, 앞으로 한반도와 아시아의 평화와 안정을 위한 린치핀으로서의 역할을 계속해야 된다는 데 인식을 같이 했습니다.
Strengthening the Korea-U.S. alliance and establishing trust was one of the big achievements.
The National Assembly passed a supplementary budget as well as the first bill on President Park's so-called economic democratization policy, opening the doors for further developments. However, the much-delayed and agonizing process of appointment of key officials within the administration and a sex scandal involving the now former presidential spokesman have, to some extent, set back the administration in its achievements. Some have pointed out the need for self-reflection and improvement from within the presidential office.
The issue of appointing people may hold the government back, since it takes away from the power and drive behind policies.
It's worrisome that the issues that need to be propelled through in the beginning of the administration may be held back because of problems with personal management.
Just in time for the 100th day, one survey showed that 52% believe the president is doing a good job, whereas 23% said she is not. The respondents praised her efforts while answering that they're least impressed with the mismanagement of personnel. A 52% approval rating is close to that of when President Park was first elected, which could be interpreted as her starting with a clean slate. Cheong-wa-dae has expressed its determination to make the 100-day mark a turning point. The presidential office and ministries are expected to release results from key projects at the end of this month and early next month. More specifically, the Ministry of Gender Equality and Family and the National Police Agency are slated to announce measures on tackling issues on 4 fronts: sexual violence, school violence, domestic violence, and uprooting unsafe fruit products, all from President Park's campaign pledges. The president is set to hold the Korea-China summit talks at the end of June that mark the 20th year of diplomatic ties between the two countries. The meeting is expected to boost cooperation and development between the two sides.
It's worth noting how President Park Geun-hye moves forward with the materializes the trust-building process on the Korean Peninsula.
If the economy is revived, her support rate will go up, and that strong foundation will help in diplomacy and security issues.
With still a lot of projects in the works, low economic growth has added a new hurdle for the government. All eyes are on how the new government will tackle these challenges and more in the months and years to come.
So it seems what the public want, maybe more details and concrete measures on how the government will carry out its key economic or key policies and the agendas such as economic revitalization, national happiness, cultural prosperity, and also building a foundation for peaceful reunification.
Right, national happiness, that was one of her key pledges, and she had promised to make people happy, and we want to be happy, so we do hope that she can deliver on that promise, because we want to be happy.
That's right.
And there is another person who wants to be happy joining us from
She's
outdoors.
actually happier than anyone I know.
Right, our Idami, who's joining us from outdoors for a look at the weather conditions.
Good morning, Tommy.
Oh, thank you. Yes, I am a very happy person, but more happy because I can work with everyone on Korea Today. Now, today I am reporting live from Gangdong-gu, Seoul, and conditions this morning, we are seeing partly cloudy skies, and just a few seconds ago, it was raining, so there are some signs of sporadic showers. It seems like it will continue throughout the morning, so before heading out, you may want to carry an umbrella with you just to be safe. Now, conditions will clear out later in the day, however, and we will be seeing hot, scorching weather once again. It seems that this year summer has come a bit early this year. And speaking of which, it looks like the monsoon season will be coming a bit early, maybe as early as mid-June as well. Now, current temperatures right now are about 18 degrees Celsius. There are some signs of winds blowing, so you may want to bring a thin jacket with you just to keep yourselves warm. With that said, let's go ahead and take a look at the numbers across Korea. Here in Seoul, the highs will peak up to 28 degrees. Daejeon will start out at 16 and peak up to 30. Daegu will be most warm at 31 degrees. Once again, Busan and Jeju look the same with lows at 17 and highs at 25. Tomorrow, we will be seeing another hot day with mostly clear conditions. That's all I have for the weather. I'll be back in just a few moments.
The third UAE-Korea Economic Partnership Forum has just wrapped up recently in Korea. It explored many possible business opportunities for companies from the two countries. Many dignitaries attended the conference. And today we're joined by His Excellency Sheikh Sultan bin Ahmed Qasimi, chairman of the Sharjah Media Center. Good morning. Thanks for joining us. It's a great pleasure to have you on the show.
Thank you for having me.
It is a pleasure. And I understand you were quite looking forward to the forum. Can you tell us about some of the things discussed and also the initiatives as well as the results and highlights?
Yes, I think the forum was, this is actually our second forum that we attended. It's one of the most important forums that we try to be in whenever we travel. Yeah, we have a delegation of about 5 different government entities that joined us in this forum, and it was a great forum. We had a lot of economic, tourism, financial exchanges between Korean government, Korean companies and the government partners we have back home.
What would you say was the highlight of the forum?
I think, like I said, we've got 5 different government entities, so everyone had their own highlights. So we have a lot to do with tourism. The delegation was arranged by the tourism department, and we had lots of good relationship with Korea in the past. The tourism department arranged that. We also have some from the health department. We know that in Korea you have a very good technologically advanced hospitals, and we're trying to have a new health city in Sharjah. So we're trying to find the best practices here in Korea as well.
And like you said, this is the second time this forum has taken place.
It's the second time, yes.
Right, in Korea. How important do you think the South Korean market is to the UAE?
Oh, it's very important. I think we do have a lot of visitors from Asia. Looking at the tourism point of view, we've got around 1.7 million coming to Sharjah alone, and a big number of that comes from the east. So from the tourism point of view, we do want to be here to promote more, to promote Sharjah more. But we also focus on the other departments, such as, like I said, the health department, trying to have one of the biggest health cities in the UAE. We're looking at the technology that's here in Korea and trying to import that to the UAE. Plus some other investment opportunities for companies from Korea also to invest in Sharjah, leisure, real estate and things like that.
I see. And one of the biggest projects between the two sides is, of course, the construction of the nuclear power plants. How big of an opportunity is this, and what other fields can Korean companies tap into in the UAE?
That's a big field, I think. Although this nuclear plant is going to be happening in Abu Dhabi, which is the capital of the UAE, but we do have a very good program in the University of Sharjah. Sharjah is one of the biggest educational hub in the Emirates. So we do have one of the best students and the best teachers in the Sharjah University city, and from there we do help them study. A new study is the nuclear study, and they practice there, and then they move to Abu Dhabi to start on the project. And getting the technology from here as well.
So you're leading the delegation of Sharjah, and that is one of the Emirates of the UAE, which has been keeping close economic ties with South Korea for some time. Could you tell us some of the number of significant initiatives as well as cooperative partnerships that's been made?
We've got one of the biggest free zones in Sharjah, and Sharjah has two free zones. The airport free zone, which is called the safe zone, and the Hamriya free zone, which is a port free zone. And we do have some of the biggest companies from East Asia in general, but we do have a lot of companies also from Korea, and having them here in the forum as well, it helps promote the area, and it also helps get even more companies, although the places are getting full, but we always have new developments and new areas located for them.
And you've been leading the Sharjah Media Center since 1999, I believe. Are there any opportunities that you're seeking with Korean media, for example?
Definitely. I mean, being here today is one of the things that we have to do while we're here.
Arirang TV, you mean?
Arirang, yes. And we were also yesterday visiting KBS TV. And we're trying to focus a lot on promoting Sharjah and how to get our news to the international media. We also focus on a forum that we have yearly. It's the Government Communication Forum that we had in February. This year we had Mr. Erdogan as a guest speaker, and Mr. Kofi Annan as a guest speaker, and we had a lot of big names that were trying to get ideas from different places in the world on how to have an effective communication between government and media, or government and the public as well. So being here today is also part of our job of finding new speakers and getting media partners to Sharjah as well.
Okay, well, it sounds great that you've actually joined us here on Korea Today this morning. We'd like to thank you.
Thank you for having me. Thank you very much.
New technologies for those with disabilities are on the rise. How can we make life easier with some of the most cutting-edge technologies? We take a look at where science is heading and how it will benefit people in the future. It's been half a year since Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe initiated his monetary easing policy, the so-called Abenomics. Its initial measures are generally evaluated as a good step forward, but some Korean analysts say it could keep Korean companies under pressure. And to tell us more, we have Arirang Ji-sun joining me now. Good morning, Ji-sun.
Morning, Hyung-kyung. Since Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe took office in December last year, he set out a main goal of reviving a stagnant Japanese economy, and that policy could be broken into three parts. Now kicking out the Abenomics paradigm was the massive quantitative easing that depreciated Japanese yen and gave the benchmark stock exchange Nikkei a boost in the first couple of months. Tokyo also plans to expand its government expenditure and in the long term, conduct government reforms mainly focused on deregulation and taxation, among others. Now, the restructuring plan is scheduled to be released before the end of this month. But the downside of its massive bond issuance has already begun to surface. This is why Japan's quantitative easing could pose such a high risk. Japan procures more than half of its government budget through sovereign bonds and the rest through tax revenues.
More than 95% of Japan's national bonds are owned by local investors, and it's easy for Tokyo to raise money through bonds. But eventually, it will be tough for Tokyo to pay back the principal, with the long-term bond interest rate rising to over 1% these days. Note that Japan's benchmark interest rate hovers slightly above their 0% mark. When bond buyers sell it back, the Japanese bond will lose its attractiveness, putting the government in a difficult spot.
And Korea has been hit by this Abenomics policy in its exports. Korea's major exporting companies have seen continuous drops in their overseas sales, while Japanese exporters saw a dramatic rise since the third quarter last year, when the yen started to shed its value. For Korea, outbound shipments, not just to Tokyo, but to other destinations around the world, will see a cutback in orders, as many of Korea's flagship export items are in direct competition with Japanese counterparts.
The low yen, higher won trend kicked in last November, and it usually takes 7 to 8 months for that to be reflected to export shipments. Korea's major exporting companies will continue to suffer from the weak yen in the second half and in the long run as well.
So it looks like there are a lot of risks involved, but on a macro point of view, what does it entail?
Well, if we start with defining how to define Abenomics success, and we say Tokyo reviving its economy as planned, it may not be a good signal for Korea because Japanese exporters will regain competitiveness and compete head-on-head with Korean exporters in the global market. But if we turn to the macro point of view, the global economy will be given a boost since Japanese economy is the third largest in the world.
Right, but there are still chances that Abenomics could still, in the end, fail to achieve its initial goal.
Right, and if Abenomics do fail to achieve its goals, the market consensus is that Tokyo will slump back into a period of no growth, very much like the periods where there was the depression that continued before the Abenomics took effect. And of course, this means the years of deflation will return and the market will lose its credit on the Japanese government with higher default risks. And experts also say the key to success will be how well Tokyo pushed forward with its reforms.
All right, so how are other countries and other players coming in this whole picture?
Well, just last Friday, the International Monetary Fund warned that there are considerable downside risks if Tokyo doesn't slash back its huge national debt. And the IMF also said Japan is on the right track in their bid to reverse years of falling prices, but noted that Tokyo must deliver on its pledges for more reforms. And going back to Seoul, Korea's Finance Minister Hyun-oh-suk commented that the G8 must prepare for the aftermath of the low yen trend and that the leaders of the G8 countries must bring this issue to the table at the summit scheduled later this month. And Chief of Korea's Financial Services Commission, Shin Jae-yoon, also told reporters that Korea will be affected whether Abenomics ends up being a success or a failure. But Shin also noted that Korea is more affected by the U.S.'s quantitative easing than that of Japan's.
Right, but nonetheless, although, like you said, Korea is more prone to being affected by the U.S. quantitative easing, but we should still be ready for Japan's monetary policy and how it works out in the whole global market.
Right, since Japan is one of the largest Korea's export and trade partners. So Seoul should be coming up with countermeasures for every scenario in terms of the post-effects of the Abenomics, be it for foreign exchange rates or the export companies that rely highly on exports to Japan and other countries, and as well as taking Korea's financial markets into account.
All right, thank you, Ji-sung, for that report.
My pleasure.
And it's time to check what Tommy is doing. So back to you, Yang and Minjung.
All right, with the heat coming on early, it seems that a lot of people were using their air conditioners yesterday, and a preliminary power shortage warning was issued as the reserve electricity supply fell below the 5 million kilowatt mark, right?
That's right, and this is where the importance of bioenergy comes in, and our Lee Da-mi is joining us from a bioenergy experience farm, and if you're just as lost as I am as to what that is, bioenergy experience farm, our Da-mi might be able to explain to us what this is. So over to you, Da-mi.
These days here in Korea, the weather has been quite hot these days. Thus, the use of electricity has skyrocketed, and that could easily lead to blackouts if we're not careful. So that's what brought me here to Gangdong-gu, Seoul, where the eco-friendly bioenergy experience farm is located. Now, this farm was established back in the year 2010 and has been receiving lots of love and popularity from people. It was established in order to let us be more aware of the importance of new and renewable energy sources. Now, this test facility is 2,120 square meters wide with a flower garden as well. Now, throughout the yard, what we're seeing are some experience programs with solar energy collector panels that produces energy. So they say that if you install a 3 kilowatt solar energy device, then they can produce 300 kilowatts of electricity in a month. So for example, a family that uses about 600 kilowatts a month can save up to 1.8 million won, or about $1,600 US a year. So that's amazing. Now, I also want to show you this field behind me. I mentioned a garden. Now, these yellow flowers are rape blossom flowers. They say that they can make practical use of bioenergy through these flowers. So what they do is they can substitute diesel with the rape blossom seeds. Now, of all of the many experience programs, they say that this is the most popular. I'm gonna put my... So what you do is you ride the bike to make energy, and then they say that the electricity is used to make the mixer work. So what I'm gonna do is make a banana shake this morning because I didn't have any breakfast. Okay, I hope it's mixing well so that I can have a nice, delicious breakfast this morning. All right, I think it's finished. Okay, let's see how good it'll come out. Ooh, yummy. All right, bon appetit. All right, I'll have the rest later. So basically, here at the experience farm, you can learn about how to save energy and learn how to just be more aware of your surroundings like this. So if you'd like to learn more, then how about coming down to the eco-friendly bioenergy experience farm? Okay, I'm kind of losing my breath right now. I'm gonna go ahead and enjoy my shake, my banana shake. That's all I have for today. I'll see everyone tomorrow. I'm Idami, Korea Today.
Wholesome banana shake made by Idami, 100%
So every time you make
natural.
the shake, you've burned off the calories
I'd
already.
like to try that.
All right, well, sounds good, Tommy. Hope you catch your breath, and thank you very much. Now, as time goes on, it seems that technology is being used for good to help people who are suffering from certain ailments, as well as disabled people out there. And it seems that this technology not only works in the mobile development or mobile application sector, but we even have like full body suits. And to tell us all about this technology, David Kim joins us. Good morning.
Good morning, David.
There's a wide variety of technology, both software and hardware, that's being developed to help disabled people and people with other motor difficulties, difficulty walking and things like that. So let's go ahead and take a look at some of these technologies. Technology is evolving by the day to be more inclusive and beneficial to all users across the board. Professor Dennis Hong, an expert in robotics engineering, was named to the American Science Journal People's Science's Brilliant 10 list back in 2009. He leads the way in robot technology for the disabled.
And what you're seeing over here is the world's very first and only car that a blind person can actually drive. This is not an autonomous vehicle. This is a car where a blind person can make active decisions and drive.
Active decisions, that's amazing.
He garnered attention with his car called Brian back in 2011, which was successfully driven by a visually impaired person. What was notable was that the car wasn't on an automatic driving system, but one where the driver manually controls the speed and route of the car.
I think besides the technical problems, social acceptance, how do you issue driver's license for the blind, how is the insurance going to cover? There's only these kind of other social problems that needs to be first solved, but I think the technology will be ready in about 10 years.
Just like this, an increasing number of technologies are being developed to aid those with visual disabilities in going about their daily lives. Be it in subway stations, on sidewalks, or bus stops, there are more options for the visually impaired in receiving information.
This is a system that can recognize everyday situations by using only a camera without using an IC chip or recognition device.
This technology uses a camera attached to a hat and sends the information to a computer which then reads it out with audio. With this technology, real-time information can be passed on so the user can leave the house without assistance from others. There are also robots that can act as a person's arms and legs. This is a robotic arm that can win any game of rock, paper, scissors using a secret sensor in the opponent's arm. This technology from the Korean Institute of Science and Technology can read directions from the brain within 0.02 seconds and move the robotic arm accordingly. If further developed, amputees will be able to move the device as if it were their own arm.
That is pretty neat.
Not only that, robots can act as legs for others. Robin is a device developed by the Korean Institute of Industrial Technology. When attached to the outer side of a patient's leg, it helps them bend and stretch using an electric motor. This is especially helpful for patients with spinal cord injuries.
The patient will move his or her healthy leg and record information to send to the device on the other leg. That's how the paralyzed leg can move.
Currently, Robin helps not only with walking, but also with sitting and standing. Researchers are working on making it climb stairs.
The left leg needs to move in time with the right, and does so by sensing the shift in weight. This is what's important in controlling the robot.
Currently, there are robot suits not only for those who struggle to walk, but also for people who are completely unable to walk, and some are already being used in the medical field.
These robots are pretty remarkable. When do you think we can see the use of these robots? Do we have a timeline?
Well, some of these systems are already being tested, such as the GPS with the visual aid for the visually impaired people. They're testing this in Daejeon right now with limited testing with the subways and bus systems. And they're hoping that within a year, by early next year, that they can have more systems out, not only across a greater area, but also where you can install the software on your smartphone or tablet instead of a computer.
Within a year.
Now, other things such as the Robin suit, these are probably going to be a couple more years down the road.
I mean, the idea of walking, as you mentioned, the Robin suit, it is really revolutionary, but wouldn't it be a little bit heavy, maybe?
Well, the suit itself weighs about 13 kilograms. And with the battery pack, that's about another 4 for about 17 kilograms. The thing is, though, the suit actually supports its own weight. So when you move, it's actually doing the moving. You set a little impulse signal, and then the suit moves itself. The suit carries itself, and it moves itself. So it's a very weightless experience for those who are actually in the device.
So you don't feel the weight so much.
Exactly.
All right, well, that's very technological indeed. What other technological advancements are there for the disabled? Anything notable?
Well, one of the fields that people are really interested in right now is robotic nursing assistants. Now, Japan right now is the leader in this field, and they've got a personalized robotic assistant for the hospitals called Reba. Now, this is a device that can actually help carry patients who are unable to walk so that you don't need a wheelchair and several people helping. The robot can do it itself. The thing is, this robot isn't exactly cheap. One single Reba unit is currently $90,000 US. So we're talking more than a luxury sedan. For
There has to be a way to boost up production so that the costs for these robots would become a little
Korea
bit
is
cheaper.
jumping into this field as well. And a lot of Koreans are hopefully predicting that they'll be able to make a robotic version as well that will be in a much more reasonable $2,500 price range.
Now, in terms of competitiveness in the field of these medical robots, where do you think Korea currently stands?
Well, Korea is very well placed with its industrial capacity and all the robotics that are already used in production. The thing is, the robotic field itself is expected to increase to about $100 billion US a year by about 2018. And people who are optimistic about the medical robotics are estimating that because of the consumer growth and consumer demand for this, that it could be up to 85% of that $100 billion market in the future.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
All right, looks like the future is bright for robotics, but on the other end, the people, the nurses that are actually working these jobs, sometimes they don't want to be replaced by these robots at the same time.
Well, I don't think they'll be replaced because it still can't provide that human touch and care.
Ah.
But when you need someone, when you need something for that heavy lifting.
Such a warm ending to a very interesting story. Thank you, David, for that.
Thank you.
All right, still ahead on Korea Today, the temperature of your body can tell you more than you think. Now, do you have a healthy body temperature, and what role does it play in the human body? Now, we look at the science behind your mercury level. Stay tuned.
Always cool learning more about robots, but I want to see robots in sports someday, or see a robot do a triple axel or a triple Lutz. Speaking of which, Canada and France will be the lucky countries that get a chance to see Kim Yeon-ah skate leading up to the Olympics in Sochi, Russia next year. Skate Canada has invited her to skate at their stop on the ISU Tour October 25th to the 27th in St. John, New Brunswick, while Trophy Bompard also has done so for their event November 15th to the 17th in Paris. Now, both will allow skaters to accumulate the necessary points to compete in the ISU Grand Prix Finals in Fukuoka, Japan, December 6th through to the 8th. To baseball, Lee Jae-ho had a modest 1-for-4 game against the Hiroshima Toyo Carp. It extends his hitting streak to a modest 2 games, but his average does drop down to .337. His Oryx Buffaloes won the rare Monday nighter 5-1. Over to domestic ball, when the KBO named their player of the month for May. You know, I actually thought SK third baseman Che Jung was probably the shoo-in for leading the league in home runs as well as RBI, being second in batting average. Not too bad, albeit not all of those feats completely done in May. But I did also neglect to realize that Lotte pitcher Chris Oxspring had pitched the Giants to 5 victories in the month, no losses in May. And for that, the former San Diego Padre was recognized as the player of the month for the KBO. Oxspring also led the league in strikeouts for the month with 41. His greatest achievement, though, clearly been making the Giants into a winner once again. Lotte was 7th in April. They're now up to 3rd, and give Oxspring a lot of credit for that. Meanwhile, to golf, the LPGA's ShopRite Classic, not the most successful this season for Koreans, with Park Hee-young placing 3rd as the top Korean at the event. Perhaps a little more perplexing was the terrible 38th place finish by top-ranked Park In-bi. Now, she does, however, remain atop the Rolex rankings, as second place Stacey Lewis finished an even worse 58th at the ShopRite, which was won by Kari Webb. On the men's tour, KJ Choi finished as the top Korean at the Memorial in Dublin, Ohio. He placed 21st at 1 under. That was 11 strokes behind the winner, Matt Kuchar. You know, in terms of international soccer supremacy right now, Germany is all the hype these days, namely with Bayern Munich winning the Champions League in an all-German final over Borussia Dortmund. Now, soccer legend Franz Beckenbauer is one of the most influential people in the German soccer scene, and he visited Korea to attend an award ceremony for former KFA head Chung Mong-jun, who was influential in allowing the 2006 World Cup to be played in Germany. Beckenbauer was asked about Germany's success and what Korea needs to do to catch up.
They have a strong national team. They've always been qualified for the World Cup. They're always an excellent opponent. So they don't need advisors from outside. They know their character of the players, you know, with discipline, hard work. That's excellent. And now a lot of players, a lot of Korean players are playing outside of the country, playing even in Germany, in England, and in all these leading leagues in the world.
Certainly always great to receive praise from one of the greatest soccer players the world has seen. And speaking of Korea's national team, 2 a.m. Tonight, this morning, and tomorrow morning, however you want to call it, they're going to be playing in Lebanon. It is their third last World Cup qualifier, a very, very big game for them that they're going to be looking for the full 3 points on the road. That is your look at sports. Remember to eat healthy and get some exercise today.
As we head into summer from spring, we've been seeing ups and downs in the daily temperatures. It's cool in the car, it's hot outside. So it's hard for our body to adjust and have a steady body temperature. And this takes a toll on our body. And to tell us more, we're joined by Dr. Alice Hyung-kyung-dan from the Samsung Medical Center. Good morning.
Hi, good morning.
Oh, got a bit of a cold there.
Please excuse my voice. Body temperature, like blood pressure or heart rate, is considered a vital sign. In other words, it's a very important indicator of our overall health. During the hot summer months, your body is having to work extra hard to maintain a normal body temperature, however.
All right, we're going to give you some rest and go to this video. We're going to take a look at a short clip before we talk further about this. So take a look.
Over the past 50 years, the average body temperature has dropped by roughly 1 degree Celsius. And most people these days show an average lower than normal body temperature.
People these days get less exercise and eat more processed goods and instant foods. They also experience more stress and are more exposed to air conditioning in the summer. That's why the average body temperature is lower than normal.
The body temperature is maintained by the warm blood that circulates throughout the body, but when waste accumulates within blood vessels and muscular fibers during metabolic activities, the passage narrows. When this happens, the body becomes colder and the warm cells also become less active, leading the body into a vicious cycle. The ideal body temperature is between 36.5 and 37.1 degrees Celsius. If the body heats up too much, it can lead to fevers, but with low body temperatures, the nervous system loses its balance, which can trigger dizziness, headaches, insomnia, fatigue, shoulder pain, and all kinds of other symptoms.
By improving eating habits, getting regular exercise, and increasing movement of the body, the average temperature will go up, and with it, immunity will also improve. These are some of the health benefits.
Especially in the case of obesity, which is the root cause of various diseases, it stems from a disorder in circulation as colder parts of the body begin to contract. This is why raising the internal body temperature by 1 degree can help immensely with dieting efforts. With an increase in 1 degree, the basal metabolic rate increases by 15%. The amount of energy an adult male uses is roughly 1,200 to 1,600 calories a day. By raising the body temperature by 1 degree, men can end up burning 180 to 230 extra calories. It's easy to think that each part of the body requires a certain temperature, but the parts of the body that are further away from the heart naturally have lower temperatures than others, especially the areas that are exposed. But what really matters is the gap between the differing temperatures. For example, if certain parts of the body are colder or hotter than other areas, it can cause various illnesses.
If the body temperature is high, you can suspect some kind of inflammation or infection. If it is lower than usual, it could be a disorder in blood circulation or there could be damage to certain nerves.
The best way to raise the average body temperature is by keeping the stomach warm. This is where energy for the body is created and also where 70% of the body's organs are located. Not only that, all of these organs consist of warm cells.
right, Dr. Dan, I have to be the antagonist and ask you some questions. I know your throat isn't all that great, but the question is, how does the body regulate body temperature?
Right, so your body is very effective in controlling body temperature. And the center for control is in the hypothalamus, which is an area of the brain. Based on external signals and internal conditions, the hypothalamus can set off changes in the skin, muscle, liver, and lungs in order to maintain a normal body temperature.
And maintaining a normal body temperature is important. So let's take a look at how hot or how cold we are. You brought this for us, right?
So normal.
Okay, it looks like you're about to shoot me in the head.
36.1, you're normal. So normal body temperature is 36.8 degrees Celsius.
What am I?
Plus or minus 0.4 degrees. But there can be variations in normal body temperature based on the individual. Also based on the time of day, whether or not you've just eaten. And for women, based on where you're at in your menstrual cycle, you could have a different body temperature.
Is this 35.3? Is this normal for Minjung?
No.
That's a little low,
right.
But you may have, the technique for taking the body temperature might have been a little bit off. You want to make sure it's done in the temporal areas and have it right next to the skin.
36.6, it says.
Right. It's best to know your own normal body temperature so that you can early detect if something's amiss.
So what are some of the things that we have to look out for to maintain a healthy body temperature?
Well, so when you're exposed to the cold, your blood vessels will constrict, your body will set off a shivering response in order to maintain and produce more heat. In most people, unless the cold exposure is very prolonged or extreme, it doesn't really have serious health consequences. There are certain conditions like cold agglutinin disease, in which exposure to cold can have devastating consequences, such as anemia, jaundice, or ulcers in the toes or fingers or the tip of the nose. But for most people, being exposed to some degrees of cold is not that serious.
Okay, what kind of effects does a low body temperature have? For example, Minjung at 35.3 degrees, that's rather low.
So if you're exposed to the cold environment combined with dry conditions, that can set you up for respiratory infections, such as bronchitis or sinusitis. If your body temperature is less than 35 degrees Celsius, you can actually develop hypothermia, and that's a potentially fatal condition.
The studio feels a little chilly now. Now, what is the correlation between obesity and body temperature?
Right, so that's a very valid question because a 1 degree lower body temperature, theoretically, over the course of 1 month, can actually result, and this is theoretical, in a 1 pound increase of fat. But there was a study done in 2011 that showed that the body temperature, the core body temperature of obese individuals is really not different from that of lean individuals. That being said, there's some diet medications that rev up the metabolism that can cause an increase in body temperature. But these medications have been linked with serious side effects, such as heart attack. They've since been taken off the market. On the other hand, there is a medical technique called cryolipolysis. And what that does is it applies cold to the subcutaneous tissue of non-obese individuals. After 2 weeks, the fat cells seem to disappear and love handles decrease.
Love handles.
Very
I'm going to have to talk to you about this after the program. All right. Well, Dr. Dan, thank you so much for joining us today.
Well, thank you. Despite your conditions, thank you for dropping by. We really do appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
And we don't want our doctor to be sick, so do take care of yourself.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, that's all we have prepared for you on this Tuesday.
And we'll see you back here on Wednesday morning at 7 a.m. Have a great day.
Thank you for watching. Bye-bye.